Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 97 of the Below the Yellow Line podcast. I'm your host, Joe Landy Pavlon. I have Justin with us tonight. Tonight it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, for you NASCAR fans out there, this is the final curtain call of the offseason because it is over. Super Bowl 55 is over. And my man, Tom Brady, number 7.
Yep.
He's something else. I mean, this is a one of a kind athlete. We're never going to see anybody like Tom Brady in really any sport again. So I think love him or hate him, appreciate him.
Yep. Yeah.
With that out of the way, there's a lot to discuss on this podcast in terms of NASCAR in the Daytona 500. The 63rd running of the Great American Race is set to begin on Sunday afternoon. This is a really different layout for the usual Daytona Speed Weeks, as it's called.
Yeah.
The run to the 500 and everything else that follows. This year, like I mentioned, it is different. Different because of the layout and everything else. So we'll provide you with all the information you fans need to know about the Daytona 500 and what to expect for the 2021 Great American Race. Without further ado, let's get started. In terms of NASCAR, the full season, what are you expecting, Justin?
For me, I'm expecting good races, usually normal races, not too crazy, because I don't want always a crazy finish. People every race I want a side-by-side finish. I'm some tracks you can't do that. It doesn't work like that. I've never seen photo finishes at road courses. That's really rare, but I'm just hoping for a good season. No controversies. I don't want controversies. We've had
enough of those.
Yeah, or fights. People always want fights in races, but I'm okay, I know we don't need a fight to get a race interested. I just expect good racing, and some races cleaner than others. Just expect good racing.
Yeah. I think these NASCAR Cup drivers have a lot on their plate this year, especially the new schedule. A lot of unknowns, uncertainties. I mean, the schedule, whether we want to admit it or not, may not be the same in a few weeks from now, depending on the current situation. But from what is known, we have the Bristol track already covered in dirt, waiting for their date to begin. Road America was one of the first facilities in American professional motorsports to have paying spectators back to the track, and even including infield campgrounds. So Road America on the 4th of July will be fun. The Indianapolis Grand Prix circuit for the doubleheader with IndyCar and NASCAR sharing a weekend, much more. But it all starts like it always does, and that is the Daytona 500. Right now, the official entry list isn't released by NASCAR.
Yeah.
At the time of this podcast.
Yeah, which is interesting because last year it was actually out on February 4th last year. This year it could be tomorrow, is possibly tomorrow, because there's stuff like COVID things. They couldn't, all team members couldn't do their normal things. They had to be distanced and all that, so. But you might expect you'll see an official entry list by NASCAR tomorrow, because we got the Clash entry list, which was the most important thing at first, but the 500, we'll probably see those entry lists pop up tomorrow.
Yes, usually in prior years, the Clash Exhibition race for pole position winners would take place on a week before, exactly 7 days till the 500 on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year they changed the date. It used to be on a Saturday night, but then they moved it to Sunday on the same day as qualifying. Qualifying, that is.
Yeah, but I remember they did that in 2016. They ran the night. 2017 was supposed to be, at the evening, but there was the rain that after the ARCA race, so they pushed it to Sunday. And then 2018 they decided to do it like that, and 2019 and 2020, which 2020 that wreck fest was interesting, but yeah, that was so like ugh. But this year they decided to put on like a condensed schedule on a Tuesday, the day after the ARCA East race, which is tonight. They decided to do that on the road course, which is going to be interesting.
Yes, and that ARCA East race, as you mentioned, Justin, is tonight at 7:40 Eastern.
Yeah.
At the New Smyrna Beach Speedway nearby New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Not too far from Daytona International Speedway whatsoever.
Yeah.
That we'll look into a little bit later. But first of all, there was some action in motorsports this past weekend, and it wasn't on 4 wheels. It was on 2 wheels. The AMA Supercross rounds 5 and 6, races 2 and 3 at the Indianapolis Lucas Oil Stadium. All Ken Roczen. He won race 1, race 2, and race 3, and extends the points lead. Ken Roczen now looking to extend that championship advantage going into Orlando. Orlando Part 1 will be on Saturday night. Orlando Part 2 will be on Tuesday, next Tuesday, that is, for round 7 and 8 of the 17-round schedule. And looking at the live chat here, Thomas Bertram says, will the ARCA race be on Track Pass? Yes, the ARCA East race will be on Track Pass, but the ARCA Daytona 200 will be, I assume, on FS1.
Yes, it is.
Speaking of speed weeks, the amount of practice sessions that the drivers and teams will have are very limited.
Yep.
This year to keep everything condensed. That's part of the plan by NASCAR. Tonight at 9 p.m., a draw will be held to determine the 21-car starting grid for the Busch Clash. First time ever held on the road course layout at Daytona International Speedway. Let's take a look at the Busch Clash competitors and how they got into the event. I highlighted some of the key competitors and why they got in there. But we'll start off with the drivers, Kurt Busch and Brad Keselowski. They are former winners of this event, 2011 and 2018 respectively. Daytona 500 winners are also allowed in the event. That includes Austin Dillon, who won the 500 in 2018. Kevin Harvick, a 3-time Busch Clash winner. He's not the only 3-time winner of the Clash that will be in the grid tomorrow night. By the way, Kevin Harvick will run a 2020 Ford Mustang, an older car for probably R&D purposes in preparation for round 2, which is the Daytona road course. So,
but even in the 2020 chassis, probably still have a good car.
Mm-hmm.
Even in an older car, Harvick knows how to drive really at road courses.
I don't think it'll make much of a difference. Ryan Newman end off his Daytona 500 win. Eligible drivers include Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, the reigning champion of the NASCAR Cup Series, and Eric Almirola. And there's the other 3-time champion of the Busch Clash, Denny Hamlin, who pulled off an upset, an unprecedented victory of that event in 2006. After racing part-time in preparation for his rookie year in 2005, he wins a pole. Next thing you know, he's winning the Budweiser Shootout, not even at the start of his Rookie of the Year campaign. Won it twice in the last 7 years. He's in the show. Ryan Blaney and Chris Buescher eligible to be in. They're in the event. Kyle Busch won the 2012 race in dramatic fashion.
Oh, yeah, that finish.
Yes, he's in the show. Martin Truex Jr., Matt DiBenedetto eligible. Joey Logano, the 2017 winner. Ty Dillon will drive for 2311 Racing. Ty Dillon was eligible as a driver from last year. Apparently, stage winners were able to make the show.
Yeah, he won the stage at the Charlotte Roval. That's his stage win, remember?
Mhm.
People had wet tires. Ty Dillon put slicks and was fast somehow. And somehow, yeah, he got in, but that's still good. But it's just an exhibition race. That's the thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Other eligible drivers include William Byron, Cole Custer, last year's winner Eric Jones for Richard Petty Motorsports this time around, and lastly Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Alex Bowman. That's 21 cars total.
Yeah.
We'll make this prediction real quick, but who will win the 2021 Busch Clash at the Daytona Road Course? Let's hear your prediction.
Okay, my pick, this driver, he's one of the best at road courses in the past couple years. He's won last year at the Daytona Road Course. Chase Elliott in the 9 Chevrolet, which is sponsored by Lumar this year. So, yeah, the Lumar Chevy's going to go to victory lane.
Well, Chase Elliott has been nearly as unstoppable as Jeff Gordon was in his time on the road courses. I think that it's not going to happen so quickly, even though he won the All-Star race at Bristol Motor Speedway last year, another exhibition event in the middle of the summer, a race that NASCAR really didn't need to have to do, but they did it anyways, which I give them massive credit for, even though they're trying to catch up on the schedule. I believe the winner of the Busch Clash at the Daytona Road Course, and I know this might be crazy as it sounds as a bandwagon choice. This team is brand new to the sport.
Oh my!
Ty Dillon,
Ty Dillon,
2011 Racing. I don't know why I'm saying that. I think I'm a little crazy here.
That would be weird. Ty Dillon draws the pole too and wins it. It's like, where did how? They would be all questioning. The NASCAR fans would be questioning what's going on in their first race.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know it's something that we've never seen before, kind of like the Clash last year or 2019. We just never thought those races would turn out the way they did, and yet they ended in mayhem.
Yeah,
and
like 2019 with Jimmy Johnson turning Paul Menard, and then the rain came and Jimmy Johnson won. 2020, Eric Jones would have destroyed race car.
Any other race, Eric Jones with that car would be out, or at least,
many laps down. But he wanted that damaged race car last year.
There were nobody undamaged after that race.
Yeah, there's so many cars were just damaged, and people kept crashing every couple laps at the end.
Well, it should be an interesting race for fun. The teams don't have to worry about using these cars for the Daytona 500, or they have to really have the Daytona 500 on their minds running this race because, I mean, it is just an exhibition. Maybe I shouldn't say that too quick. If California Speedway was still in the next few races and not the Daytona Road Course, I'd be saying I would probably be 100% on that. But I just remembered round 2 is at the Daytona Road Course.
Yeah, you don't want to wreck your car because you kind of need it for the road course. Because the Daytona 500 is on February 14th. The Daytona Road Course is a week after on the 21st. So you're going to be there literally the next week you'll be there.
It will be fun to watch. I think all the viewers will have a great time watching NASCAR's fastest drivers compete on the Daytona Road Course for the very first time in this exhibition. I mean, after all, this exhibition was created for pole winners. Unfortunately, the eligibility rules had to change because we had more races with draws and metric qualifying than NASCAR did than actual time trials. So
the only other race other than the Daytona 500 and the first couple and Las Vegas Auto Club and Phoenix, the only other race that we had qualified was the Coke 600. All the other races is this metric qualifying. But before that, remember the random draw that Eric Almirola kept getting poles? I just remember Almirola was always on the pole. It's like, the old system was a little bit weird with Almirola always drawing first place, which after a couple of rounds in a row, I'm like, okay, Almirola, are you going to stop winning poles?
Yeah. So that's out of the way. Before we discuss the Daytona 500, because I know we're going to spend a lot of time discussing that event itself, let's first and foremost preview the other races that are going to happen this weekend before the 500 itself. And that includes the NASCAR Xfinity Series race, the Daytona 300. As of the time of this podcast, February 8th, this is round 1 of 33. I'm saying that because it might change throughout the year. But here's some facts of the Daytona 300-mile race that is held on annual Saturdays. This has a long tradition all the way back to its pre-organized series days in 1959, won by Banjo Matthews. Last year was Noah Gragson who took the win for Junior Motorsports and Chevrolet. But to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And there are 2 drivers that have some of the craziest numbers in Daytona International Speedway history. And those drivers include Dale Earnhardt and Tony Stewart. 7 wins each in this 300-mile event. More than any other driver. And they tied each other. In fact, Tony Stewart's first and last wins in the Xfinity Series were all held in the 300-mile race at Daytona in February. Darrell Waltrip, 5 wins for DW. Leroy Yarbrough, Bill Dennis, Randy LaJoie, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. share 3 wins at this February Classic. And then Tiny Lund, Jack Ingram, Jeffrey Bodine, and Ryan Reed, 2 victories at Daytona. For team victories, if your last name is Earnhardt and you own a team, you are responsible for +5. You're responsible for 14 of these wins.
Wait, did you say 8 plus 5?
Yeah.
That's 13.
Yeah, 13 wins. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, 7 of the 8 wins won by Dale Sr. himself. The other one won by Dale Jr.
Oh, my.
Junior Motorsports, 5 wins.
Yep.
Including all of them in the 2010s and last year.
Yeah.
They're in a 3 race winning streak.
Yeah, they had Regan Smith in 2014, Elliott won in 2016, 2018 Reddick, 2019 was Annette, and then last year was Gregson. So yeah, they are 3 right now, 3 straight. They're going to go for 4 straight. They have 4 entries that will try to win.
Yes, that's for sure. They're on a roll, big time.
Yeah,
at these tracks. Looking down the list, Junie Donlevy, 4 wins as an owner at Daytona in the 300-mile race. Kevin Harvick Incorporated, a former satellite team of Richard Childress Racing, not Chip Ganassi Racing.
Oh, is it
Richard Childress Racing.
Yeah, I was supposed to have, like, what, since when did Harvick drive for Ganassi? I never knew this.
Yeah, I definitely caught myself before you did. Darrell Incorporated, a team owned by Darrell Waltrip himself, so
yeah,
I assume that was the team that Darrell Waltrip drove to his victories. Hendrick Motorsports, Richard Childress Racing, 3 wins from those 3 teams. Bondi Long, Dygard Racing, and Roush Fenwick Racing, 2 wins. But yeah, as I mentioned, Kevin Harvick Incorporated is a satellite team for Richard Childress Racing back in Kevin's days as a driver for RCR in the Cup Series.
Yeah.
Junior Motorsports is a satellite team of Hendrick Motorsports. If you really add the numbers 5 plus 3, then they would be right up with DEI, 8 wins. And DEI was a satellite team of RCR when they opened.
Yeah.
Manufacturer wins, it's all Chevrolet in the February race. 32 wins compared to 14 by Ford, 7 from Pontiac, Mercury 3 wins, Dodge 2 wins, Plymouth, Studebaker, Buick, and Toyota 1 win, respectively. Since the first race held on the Speedway on Saturday in 1959.
Yeah, Chevrolet they just win so many plate races the next day. I know people are like, oh, Ford, that's in Cup. Chevy just wins the plate track so much in the Xfinity Series.
Historically, Chevrolet has always had the better aero package in the
Yeah.
in the restrictor plate races. Just going back from the statistics in the 80s and 90s and even 2000s, a lot of teams would go from Pontiac to Chevrolet because the aero package favored better on the super speedways
Yeah.
for aerodynamic reasons. I looked on the Toby Christie website. He's a NASCAR insider on his website. There is a tab for Speed Week's projected entry list. The official entry list for the Xfinity race is not out yet, but according to his website that was recently posted, there are 44 cars on the list. Now, mind you, for races in Xfinity and trucks in 2021 that have qualifying sessions held, the grid cap goes from 40 to 36. In a NASCAR Xfinity Series or Truck Series race that does not have qualifying, the grid cap will be 40 entries, 40 cars, 40 trucks.
Yeah.
So the quest to win the race doesn't even start on Saturday. It really starts on the practice session and the qualifying session. The time trials will be very important. We saw some of the better drivers and teams not even make the show last year, including two of the three Colleague Racing powerhouses. You don't even question them on the race track at plate events. I mean, they have won 3 of the last 5 restricted plate races. Ross Chastain, Justin Haley, a three-peat. Talladega, Daytona, Talladega. But guess what? I really believe that the reason Justin Haley didn't win that Daytona race in February last year was because he didn't have the help he had.
Yeah.
And Ross Chastain and AJ Allmendinger DNQ'd.
But
even though Ross ran, it wasn't his car.
Yeah, he drove for Jeff. He replaced Jeff Green in the 38, and he had damage from running into C.J. McLaughlin on pit road, which didn't help.
And driving in a car that wasn't even yours until race day.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I guess there was a handshake deal between Colleague and Ross and Jeff Green to put Ross in the 38 to get Ross some points, to at least get himself some points before.
Right, because he ran for the entire championship.
Yeah. That's why the 10, like where Ross finished in points, he finished there, but his owner points was not there because the 10 missed the Daytona race, so they didn't get owner points from that race.
Well, that team is up to par now with Jett Burton behind the wheel.
Yeah, they have enough points this year compared to last year. While the 10 was not running every race in 2019, they were part-time. 2019, the 10 was part-time cars, so they were not high enough in points. Compared to this year, they're high enough, so Jett Burton does not need to worry about qualifying.
All right. So we'll make our predictions for the Daytona 300 on Saturday evening. It's actually after the ARCA race. We'll hold that discussion a little bit later because I want to save the Daytona 500 for last.
Yep. Okay, my pick. This driver. He's run many different tracks in recent time. This driver, he only has 3 starts at Daytona. His first start ever, which was in 2016, he finished 21st, but he has 2 Daytona 300 starts, 1 night race, which is night race he finished 4th, and finished 8th in stage 1, but last year, this driver, he was running up front for this team, but he crashed out in the big one. So my pick for this year's race, driver of the number 10 Colleague Racing Chevrolet, Jed Byrne is going to win at Daytona and get his first career Xfinity win.
You know how many times Jed Byrne has been close to winning in the series?
Whew, he's been close. Like, I've seen him running up front, but there's some things happen, like Texas earlier this year. No, last year at the fall race at Texas, running up front, blew a tire late in the race. Like, I feel like he's going to be a contender.
Look at the numbers. Junior Motorsports seem to be on a different level every year they come to Daytona, without a doubt. This driver will win the race at Daytona. He will drive for Junior Motorsports, and I think this will be the year he finally gets a championship.
I know this is.
I'm probably going to be wrong about the championship in a few weeks' time, but a win at Daytona would be monumental for any driver. And he's still yet to accomplish that. His name is Justin Allgaier.
Okay.
How could you question this veteran? He is superb. But it seems like Daytona has just never been his cup of tea.
No, some races, like last year, he crashed out in both races last year. In the fall race, he got caught up on the lap in a crash on lap 46. And in the race in February, crashed with 13 to go, plowing in the back of Jeremy Clements in the 51 car when Bilicki spun in front of the track. But Junior Motorsports has still 2 other cars in that race. They have Gregson the 9, and Josh Berry will be driving that number 8 car, which Junior Motorsports will try to win another race at Daytona.
What are the chances that Noah Gragson could go back-to-back and win this race?
There's a chance there. He just has to stay out of trouble. He doesn't want to get caught up in a big one.
You know, this series has gone through many changes, of course, because it is a developmental ladder, even though there are veterans year in and year out. That's what makes NASCAR unlike any other form of motorsport. Like even Formula 2, Formula 3, you won't even see the way, the process the same as ever, because there is that room, the open door for veterans like Daniel Hemrick.
Yeah.
Just step down and join in. When a Formula 1 driver is pretty much, having to fight for a ride, they don't go back to Formula 2. They go elsewhere. But I'm not trying to make Mr. Comparison here. This is a NASCAR discussion. Daniel Hemrick is a dark horse pick. He may not have his best run at Daytona on the oval. Personally, I've never really seen him stand out there yet. There are other tracks, like next weekend at the Daytona Road Course, that might be a favorite for a driver like Daniel Hemrick. But look at the full picture. This is a big deal for Hemrick.
Yeah, he's going to try everything to get a win, but he has Daytona, the oval, but there's some races he just crashes out. His only start of the road course was last year. He crashed out at the end of stage 1. He spun into the guardrail. But then you got tracks like Las Vegas, Phoenix, Atlanta. Those tracks he's good at. Mile and a half, he's strong at mile and a half. So Hemrick's going to try everything to get a win this year.
Last year we looked in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, full picture of the championship, and the one driver we really didn't look at too much, actually 2 drivers, was Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric. I knew Austin Cindric would have some kind of better experience. He ended up winning the championship, but no one really knew that Chase Briscoe was going to break out the way he did in 2020. Who will be that breakout driver in the NASCAR Xfinity Tour?
Oh, that's hard to say because Harrison might be a good pick for that. Just like Harrison Burns, I know he didn't make it far into the chase this year, but looking at what he did, remember Texas? Remember that race at Texas at the end of the race? He spun out with less than past halfway. He spun. He was 5/10 behind Gregson coming towards the white flag. He passed him in turn 3 and 4, which was just where did he come from? He came from half a second behind to pass him for the win off turn 4.
And Harrison Burton followed that up with a
Martinsville.
dominating win at Martinsville. And you really think if the system and the playoff system wasn't as vindictive as it is, he might have been in a spot to win a championship last year. But I think Harrison Burton is that one young driver that will break out and do what Chase Briscoe did. But hey, every driver is different, and that's what makes racing what it is.
Yeah, because I know like Brandon Jones, he's been in the series too long. He just gets some wins, like before. You remember when he got only one win, and when he won his first race, it's like, oh, it's a fluke, and then he won a couple this year, which nobody expected. Like I remember Phoenix, the 4th race of the Xfinity season. Remember when Brandon Jones passed Kyle Busch for the win? Nobody expected that.
Blew my mind.
Nope, just Brandon Jones who takes the lead and wins. And people say anytime that Brandon Jones sometimes won, there was a fight. I don't know what it is with fights and Brandon Jones winning.
Oh, things just happen.
Like Darlington. I remember Darlington example. Remember Denny Hamlin, Chastain getting into it? And it's Brandon Jones, the guy in 3rd, taking the lead and winning.
I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you something really funny. Brandon Jones winning Darlington was what is the win Dave Blaney never had in 2003 in the Cup Series. He was waiting for Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch to do exactly just that. It just didn't happen, and Dave Blaney had to settle for 3rd.
Yeah, it's like, I just remember all those things with Brandon Jones, but I think that Harrison's going to be a really contender this year in the 20 car.
Yeah, I think so too. Daniel Hemrick, he wants to keep a professional stock car career alive. This season has got to be the most important for Hemrick. He's in a full-time ride for a team that you can't question their potential, their speed, and their capability. I think this will be the year for Daniel Hemrick. But we'll have this conversation a lot more later because we are trying to bring up the Daytona 500 and once next week happens, we'll know where all these drivers really sit.
Yeah.
In terms of the full season, but Hemrick's got to make this count, and I think he will. Joe Gibbs Racing is that kind of team. All right, so with that out of the way, let's move on to the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Yes, welcome back. The Camping World banner, even though the same company just had a name change, the Daytona 250, 22nd annual 250-mile race at Daytona to kick off the Truck Series season. According to the Toby Christie site, there are 42 entries on his projected entry list.
Yep.
For 36 spots, as I mentioned in our Xfinity Series discussion. 36 trucks will start the race. 42 trucks will attempt. So even in the Xfinity Series, there will be some fast guys going home.
Yeah, like the trucks, it's going to be an interesting because there's some teams that are new, like the Rackley WAR team, that number 25 entry. Or you have returning drivers. You have different drivers, some new drivers, some experience. It's going to be an interesting.
Yeah, and the Daytona 250, especially for the Truck Series, like we know the Daytona 300 is like the blueprint of what to expect for every new season in an Xfinity Series competition. But the Truck Series seems like the Daytona 250 race is like a wild card event. And I'll tell you why. Let's first of all look at the statistics. This is round 1 of what is currently a 22-race schedule. Grant Enfinger, he won the race last year. He's not going to compete for the full championship. Mike Wallace won the first event here in 2000, one of the most controversial and remarkable events in really NASCAR history.
Yeah.
But if you look at the wins column for most wins by drivers, teams, and manufacturers, this is where the diversity really shows. Only 2 drivers have won more than once. Johnny Sauter, an active driver competing for a championship who really didn't have the best year last season. 3 wins in this event, more than any other driver. He surpassed Todd Bodine in 2018 for that bragging right. Todd Bodine was the first to win 2 Truck Series races at Daytona.
Yep.
Team wins. Now, this is where it really gets interesting. You have combinations of teams that are still around and teams that don't exist anymore. But 2 teams have 3 wins. One of them is active in the Daytona 250. That, of course, GMS Racing, the active team, and the defunct team of Bobby Hamilton Racing, owned by the late Bobby Hamilton, the 2004 Truck Series champion. We also have a mix of semi-active teams that are active in different divisions, and teams that are unactive or that have shut down, and teams that are still around that have 2 wins that could actually possibly tie and join the 3 winners club at Daytona. Those teams include Thor Sport Racing, but the defunct teams also were Roush Fenway Racing, Germain Racing, and Red Horse Racing. Both the Germain Racing wins were with driver Todd Bodine.
Yep.
Want to win at Daytona? Drive a Toyota. 9 wins, more than any other manufacturer at this event. 6 wins from Ford. Chevrolet and Dodge share 3 wins. There are your numbers. But, of course, numbers change when drivers change throughout the season. The Truck Series won't be any different here. Can Johnny Sauter win for the 4th time at Daytona?
I say no. My pick is not Johnny Sauter. You're saying about Toyota. They are good here. My pick, he's never ran a Daytona truck race, but he has 1 plate start, which was a 3rd place at Talladega. He pushed his teammate to the win last year at Talladega. This driver has, in 16 starts, he has 8 top 5s, 9 top 10s. He's competing for Rookie of the Year. Driver of the number 18 Toyota Tundra. Chandler Smith is going to pull an upset and win it at Daytona.
This could be Kyle Busch Motorsports' comeback year in terms of driver performance. We really didn't see that force from KBM like we usually have in the 2010s.
Yeah.
From drivers or former drivers like Eric Jones, Christopher Bell, Wallace.
Yeah, Lessard,
William Byron.
Yeah, it's like Eckes was kind of struggling here and there, and Lessard took a while for him to get suited. But I feel like this year, like, you have Nemechek, John R. Nemechek going for the 4 is going to help.
Big time.
He has a lot of experience in the truck. Kyle Busch is going to run 5 races, which he did announce these races today. His first start will be at Las Vegas, and his last start is going to be at Pocono. Like, he's running 5 starts. And you also have Drew Dollar. He's running 8 races for the 51 truck.
I think in terms of the championship between John Hunter Nemechek and Chandler Smith, that's where we're really going to see the numbers for the fall season. But in terms of the race on Friday, look no further from the upset winners. And why do I mean the upset winners? Just take a look at these names that have won the Daytona 250 and where they come from. They're different backgrounds. So remember how I said only 2 drivers won more than once in this event?
Yep.
Here are the drivers that have won once here. And then the list gets crazier. It might sound normal. I mean, you have Mike Allison, Joe Ruttman, veterans. Robert Presley, Rick Crawford, veterans. Carl Edwards, Bobby Hamilton, veterans. Mark Martin, Jack Sprague. You know, it sounds like a normal event with winners.
But
Timothy Peters pulled an upset in 2010.
Yep.
Michael Waltrip in 2011 race.
Oh, my God. Well, 2012 gets weirder.
John King. I've never heard of John King. And he beat the best of the best to win that race. And then, of course, Johnny Sauter started his terror on the field of Daytona. Kyle Busch seems like a normal winner. Tyler Reddick won in 2015. Johnny Sauter, this is where GMS Racing just starts. 2016, 17, 18, two of those three wins were from Johnny Sauter. Kaz Gralla, no one expected him to win that soon. Austin Hill was an underdog time. Grant Enfinger was nearly beat by two owner drivers who usually reside in the back.
Yeah, Jordan Anderson second, Cody Roba third. And impressive, Cody Roba actually spun in the race. I remember Cody Roba almost wrecked. He saved it in stage 2 and ended up finishing third. If they would have hit each other, Roba could have got the win. That would have been just weird. That would have been interesting hearing Cody Roba winning. Like Daytona, yeah, you could have different winners. Like Austin Hill in 2019, his first start for Hattori. Nobody expected him to win. People said, "Oh, he'll do decent," but nobody expected him to win at Daytona.
Crash fest and a half.
Oh my God, yeah. I remember there was like 11 trucks. Then there was a 2-car wreck with Bobby Gerhardt and Austin Wayne Self, which only 9 trucks finished.
Every retirement was because of a crash.
Yeah, 9 finishers, which was kind of sad for a truck race. Oh,
pretty much the predecessor to the 2020 Busch Clash, if you like.
Yeah, the Busch Clash was there's not many clean cars. Like Eric Jones's car was the worst damaged car, and he's the one winning the Clash. Like, it was so weird. But yeah, Daytona, you could have different winners. It's not all about horsepower. You got to be in the draft, be there at the right time, and try not to be involved in the big one.
Yeah, and that's of course where the inexperience kicks in. And that's why the racing at Daytona, especially in the 300-mile race on Saturday, brings controversy year in and year out because of the mixture of experience and lack of experience. That's why NASCAR has strengthened the requirements to, show up in these events. So my prediction to win, as you mentioned, it was Chandler Smith.
Yep.
I believe we're going to see an upset, a major upset.
Oh, my.
This, it is Daytona. Look what almost happened at Talladega last year. A driver whose career lived off one victory that was an upset itself, Trevor Bayne.
Yep.
In his third Truck Series race back in a blank truck for Nice Motorsports.
Yep.
In the hunt, nearly won. He lost by just a few inches against Rafael Losar.
But who's your pick?
Yeah, okay. This driver, he's won twice at Talladega. He's going to have to qualify on time. His name is Parker Kligerman for Henderson Motorsports.
Oh, my. Oh, my.
But let's say he misses the show. If he doesn't make the race, my prediction to win will be a lot more realistic with Rafael Losar.
Okay, that makes sense because, like, I remember remember that one time remember that race in 2018 where Kamikaze Games, or 2019? Oh yeah, 2019. Kamikaze Games gave his picks. All three, his stage winner picks and the race pick, they all DNQ'd, which really didn't help him at all.
And it will be very likely that we see that happen in both Xfinity truck races with the 36 grid cap. Honestly, I wouldn't have mind seeing just the grid cap stay 40 across all three divisions.
Yeah, but it's going to be an interesting field. It's like, remember, it's that one time I've seen once at Martinsville where there's always races where there's more entries than expected. Like, remember when there was the 40 grids, 40 car grids for the Truck Series? At Charlotte, there was 47 entered, so there was 7 DNQs.
Yeah, they had to send people home.
Because there's not enough pit boxes at all for 47. That would be a little bit tough.
This was all brand new to NASCAR. They went from 32 trucks straight to 40.
Nobody expected 47 trucks to show up at Charlotte. Nobody expected that.
No, but that's why I'm a big defender of qualifying. We need to at least have the qualifying sessions. I don't care
Yeah,
how many make the show. We need to have
yeah,
everyone get a
yeah,
chance to,
yeah,
properly get into the show.
yeah.
All right, before we discuss the Daytona 500, because I know we're 45 minutes into the podcast here, I want to just um, I want to get into the ARCA Menards series discussion. So ARCA is in their second year with this NASCAR partnership, which means the formerly
Yep.
K&N Pro Series East and West divisions um, and the ARCA Menards Series Tour are using the same car in three different divisions under the
Yep.
ARCA banner.
Yep.
It seemed like a pretty good concept last year until COVID-19
Uh,
related problems hindered what could have been an interesting, an interesting demonstration of the car
yeah.
being used in all kinds of series.
Yeah, and also the field numbers. This year, 16 at New Smyrna is better. Last year, we had like 12 at one point. It's like, okay, 12, like, but this year it's like, yeah, last year was a struggle with COVID. Like, it was like COVID-19 made teams that had not enough backing couldn't run races and things like that.
Yes. So the 175 Jeep Beach 175 entry list. Just to let you know, the as of today, the ARCA East Series schedule consists of 8 races, starting tonight at New Smyrna Beach Speedway, and
Yeah.
8 races later, unless things change, will end at Bristol Motor Speedway on the 16th of September.
Yep.
So there are 16 entries for tonight's race. Which one stands out to you?
There's a couple that stand out. One of them is Sammy Smith. He was actually fastest in practice today. He's driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, and he's driving 6 out of 8 ARCA East races, and he's running 1 ARCA West race in the 18 for Gibbs. I know Ty Gibbs is running full-time ARCA, but East Series, it's Sammy Smith, who is a development driver. He ran for KBM's super late model program last year. In a couple since like couple years, he's been with that, and he has a shot in the ARCA East Series. I feel like he has a good shot tonight in that 18 car. Like, there's many names like Parker Retzlaff, another name for Bruce Cook Racing. He was up there.
He's a
Taylor
pretty fast one. Taylor Gray, we've seen him before.
Joey Iced for David Gillen Racing, and 5th place. This is the other Bruce Cook car, Carson Quapple, the son of Travis Quapple, in the 41 in his first ARCA East race. Like, yeah, he was 5th in practice, which is really impressive for running his first laps in an ARCA East car. He's gonna be there's many contenders.
There are many contenders, but my heart's with my friend, man. Raja Karuth. If you're watching this, Raja, kick some ass tonight, please. Make us proud. We're rooting for you.
Yep, he was P9 in practice, which it's his first time in a ARCA East car. Jack Wood's also another good pick for GMS in the number 21, which he's running full-time East competition, part-time in the ARCA West.
Yes.
And he's running part-time. Which is good for Jack Wood. I've seen him run. I sometimes see him 4th place in a back marker car ahead of some of the Bill McAnally cars in the West Series last year. But him being in a GMS car, I feel like this is going to really help him be really like a solid racer. Like,
after all, there will be a new champion in the East Series because Sam Mayer is off to the big leagues in Xfinity later on this season. Once he's of age, he'll be able to race in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, already signed with Junior Motorsports. So he'll be a new champion in the East Series.
Yep, you can't win the championship on the first race. You can lose it there.
No, and there's a lot of teams that are unconfirmed for the full tour, even 8 races down the road, because they don't know where they're going to be. They don't know where they're best to stay in ARCA and in the ARCA Series, 3 of them, including the main tour.
like Rev Racing, they're going full-time with the 6. They also got GMS as a full-time entry with the 21 car. Taylor Gray's also, I think he's full-time. Joey Ice is Joey Ice is, I don't know about Joey Ice. Carson Quapple, I don't know. Retzlaff's full-time. Quapple's unknown. I don't know. We know the 21. They're going to be fast with GMS Racing, so he's going to be a contender tonight.
Welcome back, Reddy Jones Racing. How about Mexican driver Max Gutierrez?
Yeah. Yeah, he made his only ARCA start last year for Troy Williams in the 53 at Bristol. But he's good. I've seen him race, and I think he's going to be doing decent for that team.
One issue with Reddy Jones Racing is, it might be, Daytona, but that is a team based in Canada.
Yeah.
It really, we saw this with the 24 hours of Daytona and even the 24 hours of Dubai, that these Canadian teams had to do extra work to get in and out of the country. So, yeah, it's easy to get to round 1 because you have all the off-season time and wiggle room to do that. But can they stay? We'll have to find out. They'll also be at the Daytona 200 this weekend.
Yeah, Brittany Zamora will drive that 30 car at Daytona.
All right, so let's get that E-Series predictions in. Who will win tonight at New Smyrna to kick off Speed Weeks 2021?
Okay, my pick, this driver, he has 0 ARCA E starts, but he has West starts. He's driven for his family team, Velocity Racing, in the 78 car. Driver of the number 21, what's his name? Jack Wood will win in the number 21 for GMS Racing.
I'm going to go with Parker Retzlaff. We already have the data. He's pretty fast. He was fastest in the last practice session, so
yeah,
Parker Retzlaff will take the win for Bruce Cook. But you know who I'm pulling for this whole season. There's no question. It's Raja Caruth.
Yeah.
Personally, Justin, you and I, we've been in group chats with Raja before, way before he was a race car driver. Before he started go-karts. He is one gentleman. I'm very humbled to know Raja, and I'm pulling for him. I think we all are.
Yeah.
All right, from one ARCA race to the other, this is the crown jewel ARCA race of every year, and that, of course, is the Daytona 200. The 200-mile race this year will be on a Saturday.
Yep, at 1:30 Eastern, which is before the Xfinity race. People are like, "Oh, it should have been Saturday." I'm like, because they want it to be conflicting with the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's not the brightest idea. But it's gonna, at least the race is there. The ARCA Menards Series season opener.
Yes, from let's just put some names out there, from the first ever winner of Nelson Stacy to legends like Iggy Katona, Benny Parsons. How about this? Kyle Petty, in his very first stock car start in 1979, his dad, Richard Petty, of course, one of the greatest drivers of all time, without a question, made Kyle Petty wait till he turned like 18 or 19 years old to run in the big track. And what did Kyle Petty do that very first time? He drove 80 laps to victory on that same year that his father won probably the most popular Daytona 500 win in 1979. The birth of a career. How about names like Jim Sauter, the patriarch of the Sauter family? The late Jim Sauter, the father of some of Midwest stock car racing's greatest drivers, including none other than Johnny Sauter.
Yep.
Joe Ruttman, one of the most experienced drivers of all time. Let's throw in another name, Mike Wallace, Andy Hillenberg, Jeff Purvis, the late Kenny Irwin Jr. went from USAC to stock cars immediately with the win at Daytona and ARCA. Bobby Gerhart, 9 times. No driver has ever topped Bobby Gerhart's numbers. And he wasn't really a devoted driver on the big stage, but he always seem to have a knack for winning at Daytona. Bobby Gerhart recently retired.
Yeah.
How about another batch of names? Let's throw in the late David Keith, who passed away last fall, won in 2000. Ryan Newman in 01. How about Chase Montgomery? Here's a fun fact. Chase Montgomery drove in a car that was owned by Alice Cooper. I'm not joking. Kyle Busch, John West Townley.
Wait, Joseph, by the way, Bobby Gerhart has 8 wins at Daytona, 9 in his career. He has 1 win at Talladega, and his other 8 were all Daytona. Yeah, his last win was 2012 when the field, some of the people were running out of fuel, including Brandon McReynolds, which gave the win to Bobby Gerhart in the number 5.
Well, the entry list, I think it's 32 cars this year.
It looks like that because I don't.
Yeah, the entry list, I have it in ARCA.com. It's actually ARCARacing.com. It shows it right as you click on it.
Yeah, and the only thing is everybody's confirmed except the 40, Cody Efa's team, which is
himself.
It's actually Nice Motorsports, but Cody Efa's the crew chief, so they have him as the owner of the 40. But it's
truck drivers.
Carson Hosvar, maybe. You never know, because Hosvar's running on Friday for Nice. Yeah, we have decent entries. It's not just all back markers, what people say. There's big names, big.
How about Jason White? We got Jason White of Canada, who was actually in the front running. He's driving for Andy Hillenberg.
In the 10.
Speaking of Jason White of the U.S., no relation.
Yeah,
make his Xfinity Series return for RSS Racing.
Yeah, in the Daytona race this Saturday in the number 23. There's also drivers like Drew Dollar. He's running part-time this year in ARCA. The only entry that's full-time is the 20. Then no, not like full-time, but like part-time drivers in the 15, 25, and 55. But you also have Tanner Gray running Daytona in the 17. Ty Gibbs going full-time in the 18. Corey Heim in the 20. Jack Woods running. Brett Holmes, last year's champion, back in his number 23 entry. Other than them, you got Gracie Trotter, Kyle Sieg, Ryan Sieg's little brother Kyle running for RSS Racing, Brittany Zamora, Howie DiSavino III, Tad Moffitt, Derek Griffith for Venerini. Like, just these entries.
How about Dave Mayer III? He was fast last year.
Oh, yeah.
65?
Yeah, he's in the
1978 Snowball Derby champion.
Yeah.
Still going strong. Eventually, 80 laps out and 200 miles will go by, and there'll be a winner. And who will that winner be?
Like Dave Mater III, just saying, he's 65. He hasn't won ARCA win. Where did his only ARCA win came at Michigan? But in 1993, he's in the 90s. Okay, my pick for the win. Okay, my pick's an upset, a real upset. This driver, it's a female. She ran last year in the ARCA West Series full-time. She got a victory at the Las Vegas Bullring. Driver of the number 25 for Venerini Motorsports, Gracie Trotter, is going to win at Daytona.
That doesn't sound unrealistic at all, even though she hasn't run on the big tracks yet. I think Gracie Trotter is a solid performer. As far as I've seen in the past, she's in great equipment, but I think the Venerini Motorsports star of the show will be someone that has a little more experience, and that, of course, will be Corey Heim. Now, he's running for the full championship. There's one driver I don't see, and that's very unfortunate. We don't have Michael Self there, the two-time winner of the Daytona 200. Unfortunately, he's out of a ride, and the Toyota driver development program in NASCAR is there are more drivers than there are spots.
Yeah.
Just by looking from the Cup Series ladder all the way down, it has the smallest capacity of all the manufacturers, the three of them.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure for a driver like Corey Heim, who overperformed his own equipment in different circumstances last year in his part-time season. Yeah. I think Corey Heim will really do big things. He'll really do a lot of things in 2021, and it starts by winning at Daytona. Now, there'll be other factors here. Ty Gibbs, he's running the full tour in Joe Gibbs Racing Equipment. Tanner Gray will share the car with his younger brother, Taylor Gray. Now, Taylor Gray is not age eligible to run Daytona yet, but Tanner Gray, we've seen him run the big tracks in preparation for the Cup Series. Jack Wood will run the East race and the main National Series race. Yeah. But there is a driver that we really overlooked, and he always seems to be fast in the last few years. He doesn't run all the races, but it usually runs the big tracks in the super speedways. That is Sean Corr.
Yeah, that number 8 entry. Yeah, Sean Corr's been always there, contending, just there in the main.
His family team puts a lot of effort and passion in this one race, so I think it will pay off. But there is no solid favorite in this one.
Yeah, and people don't go start picking back markers, because the back markers in ARCA are not NASCAR back markers. No, they are really slow. So nobody's going to pick Con Nicolopoulos. That's not going to happen.
Of course, Justin Con Nicolopoulos. All right, so we covered all the events now. We covered the exhibition Busch Clash, the Xfinity Series, Daytona 300, the 250-mile truck race at Daytona on Friday, the 2 ARCA races, the East Series at New Smyrna tonight, and the Daytona 200 that will be on Saturday afternoon. That leaves us with one big event to cover in NASCAR stock car racing, and that is the one and only 2021 Daytona 500, the 63rd running of the Great American Race, is going to be a highly competitive Daytona 500, maybe even more. Probably the most competitive group of drivers that we've seen in the entry list in the entirety of the charter system era, from 2016 to present day 2021. The charter system hasn't seen that much depth in an entry list until today. We'll go through that later, but let's take a look at some stats of the Great American Race, because this race doesn't come without stats. The Daytona 500 is perhaps one of the most prestigious events in motorsport history. Yeah. And it all started in 1958. A radical genius in Bill France, decided that the cars needed a more organized facility to hold races at instead of just the beach at one time of the year. So they constructed the Daytona International Speedway, which was born in 1958, and the first Daytona 500 took about 3 days to decide. Yeah, that was pretty much the reason why we have cameras at a start-finish line at a race.
Yep.
Finish line cameras. Yep. Lee Petty took the win in 1959.
Who was originally the winner? Was
Johnny Beauchamp.
Yeah, but I guess Petty called, literally phone called, which, yes, phones exist back then, but not cell phones, but he contacted Bill France to say he won. It took 3 days to figure out, so they went from Sunday. They figured out the winner on Wednesday.
Yes, and the rest is history. Last year and the last 2 years has been all Denny Hamlin in the Daytona 500. He has a chance to make history in 2021, but let's take a look at the drivers who have won multiple times in the Great American Race, and it's a very short class of Hall of Fame-worthy drivers. Richard Petty, the 7-time NASCAR champion, has won the Daytona 500 7 times. Gil Yarborough is the second of 2 drivers to be in the 4 or more winners club in the Daytona 500. Another list that Denny Hamlin could possibly join. Then Here's the club of three-time winners of the 500: Bobby Allison, Dale Jarrett, Jeff Gordon, and of course Denny Hamlin. The
Yep.
list of two-time winners of the Daytona 500. None of them will be in the race this year. In fact, I think Denny Hamlin is the only driver to have more than one Daytona 500 win going into this event.
Yeah, because Jimmy Johnson's not there, and so he's the only one.
Yes, Jimmy Johnson, Bill Elliott, Sterling Marlin, Michael Waltrip, Matt Kenseth, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Two-time Daytona 500 winners in that list. It's a very tough race to make. It's a tougher race to win. All 500 miles count. In terms of team victories, 9 wins for Petty Enterprises, 7 from Richard, the first in 1959 from Lee Petty, and the other win in 1970, nearly 10 years later, Pete Hamilton. And the rest were from Richard himself. Hendrick Motorsports has a chance to tie Petty Enterprises with 8 wins, and don't be surprised if they do. Hendrick Motorsports have what it takes to join Petty Enterprises, become the winningest team in the Daytona 500. 8 wins. Wood Brothers Racing still looking for win number 100. They have a great chance to do that here with 5 Daytona 500 wins, including the 10-year anniversary race of 2011 with Trevor Bayne, a very popular win.
Yeah.
Jacobs Racing, 4 wins at the Daytona 500, 3 of them from Denny Hamlin, including their very first win in NASCAR Cup Series history, Dale Jarrett. Ranier Lundy, Morgan McClure Motorsports, Robert Yates Racing, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, Richard Childress Racing, 3-time winners for Daytona 500 winning teams, and the following teams, 2 wins in the 500, including Holman Moody, Junior Johnson and Associates, Milling Racing, Roush Femmett Racing, and most recently Team Penske.
Yep.
Manufacturer wins, and I put this in 2 categories with car makes and the company itself. Chevrolet leads that with no question, 23 Daytona 500 wins. Chevrolet leading over Ford. Ford 15 wins in the Daytona 500. That was almost 16 last year. They were close. Plymouth and Dodge share 4 wins apiece for the umbrella company of Chrysler Corporation, and the rest of the multi-time team wins for the Daytona 500 have all been 3, other than the manufacturers I mentioned. Those include Mercury, Oldsmobile, Pontiac, Buick, and recently Toyota. All those Toyota wins were from Denny Hamlin.
Yep.
So as I mentioned, manufacturers are the entirety of a brand.
But
General Motors, 32 wins.
Oh my goodness.
Ford Motor Company, 19 wins. Chrysler Corporation, 8 wins. And of course, Toyota Motor Company, 3 wins.
Yeah, 32 by General Motors. That is a lot. That is 32 victories compared to 19. That's 13 wins more than Ford Motor Company, which is a difference. A 13-win difference. That's a lot.
And General Motors usually, like I mentioned in the old Busch Series days, had the aerodynamic advantage on these tracks. So maybe that's why they ran the Pontiacs and the Chevys and the Buicks. It made sense in the day to switch manufacturers. But there was a time when that said top manufacturer would actually come from Chrysler, the Plymouth Superbird, the Dodge Charger Daytona. How about the Plymouth Belvedere?
Yeah, like I remember watching a video. It was about Buick in NASCAR. Like people were saying about how long they'd take a Buick to win, and then like 1981 to 89, Buick was just good. Like they got their car with a good aero when in 81 compared to other cars, which nobody expected that Buick would do that. And Buick got 3 championships in a row. They got 3 titles.
This was during a time when most of General Motors invested in NASCAR so much that they let other brands compete amongst themselves, like Chevrolet, Oldsmobile, and Pontiac, and as you mentioned, Buick. The Aero War. Right. Now, winning the pole in the Daytona 500 is a tall order.
Oh yeah,
Some
it
of the
is.
names who won pole positions in the Daytona 500 have
Oh,
not even won the 500. And I'll go down that list real quick. To win the pole for the Daytona 500, you really have to be fast. How fast? Well, ask Bill Elliott. He joined that
oh,
in the mid 80s.
oh,
Cale
wow.
Yarbrough and, of course, Buddy Baker was the first driver to
Oh,
reach 200 miles per hour in a NASCAR qualifying time. Cale Yarbrough, or Bill Elliott, 4 poles. Fireball Roberts, the 1962 winner of the race, with Ken Schrader, who never won the race, and Dale Jarrett, who won it 3 times, 3 poles in the Daytona 500. Here's the 2-time pole winners of the 500. 2 of these drivers have not won the 500. Donnie Allison, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and Chase Elliott.
yep.
Now we look at the uniqueness of the Daytona 500 procedures going into the race itself, and that's where your new fans of NASCAR really have to listen and understand how this works, because it's tough to really break it down. So I'll do my best. Qualifying for the Daytona 500 is unique.
Yep.
There are 2 twin 150-mile races called the Duels, similar to heat races, but a lot longer and more intense for sure.
Yep.
36 cars are chartered that are
Yep.
on the entry list of what is currently a 44-car entry list.
Yeah, and there's one full-time entry, not with a charter, which is the JTG number 37 entry. Due to they don't have much funding, the 37 has 24 races with sponsors. The other 12 that are unknown have no sponsorship announced for those races. Which, yeah.
It's a tough position to be in, I'm sure. And maybe that's the cue to work twice as hard. We'll see how that team goes. But as I mentioned, 36 cars are coming into this locked in. As of the time of this podcast, there are 8 cars that are considered non-charter open teams, also referred to as go or go homers.
Yep.
Like I said, as of February 8th, that's what we know. There could be more. There's projected 3 more entries that could make up 11 open teams going into this. But what we know in the end, that either way, there'll be 4 cars from open teams making the 500. That complete the 40-car grid. A maximum of 40 cars will start the race on Sunday. Time trials for qualifying in the Daytona 500 are very unique.
Yep.
Top 2 positions are locked into the 500 and do not have to worry about their positioning in the twin 150s on Thursday.
Yep. Which the thing about the duels, if people are wondering, how's the duel lineup start? Race 1 is the inside lane. The outside lane is race 2. So basically, whoever qualifies third in race 1, whoever qualifies third in qualifying is the pole start for race 1. Whoever's fourth in the qualifying starts on the pole for race 2. So if there's 44 entries like that's projected, so that would be 22 cars in each duel.
That would be even out, actually. And it could help, for some of the go or go home teams to have that scenario in. And that's my next point. I'll leave that for later. But as you mentioned, so it doesn't matter what scenario your team is in, whether you're chartered or open. If you're at the front row, you are good to go. That's your position. As Justin said, qualifying for the Daytona 500, I think the laps are 60 for each duel.
Yes, 60 lap duels. Pit stop. There's a pit stop in there. One pit stop race, which even in the duels, pit road could be chaotic. Remember last year, Daniel Suarez missed the 500 because the incident with Ryan Blaney going down pit road, that Suarez got hit.
The littlest mistake, just the littlest mistake. Took one of the favorites speed-wise out of the 500.
Yeah,
and it's a shame because you saw how fast Daniel Suarez was in the 400-mile race, and even Talladega, he was up running laps.
Yeah, and also, which was interesting, that actually helped Reed Sorensen make the 500 for premium in the 27 car.
That is correct. There could be more entries. the entry list is not finalized yet, but from the
No.
confirmed list that we do know, provided by jski.com,
Yep.
great credits to them.
Yep.
It is 44 with a potential of 47. That means 8 Gorgo homers with a potential of 11 Gorgo homers. Now, how can a driver and a team that isn't secure into the 500 make the Daytona 500? There are many methods to doing this.
Yep.
In fact, you can actually make the race based off your speed and time trials.
Yeah.
That is an incentive for a maximum of 2 teams.
Yeah, it's the fastest 2 in qualifying, like not fastest, like fastest open cars, like whoever's the fastest, and the top 2 that are fastest in there are basically locked in on speed. But the others, they gotta rely on the duels. Like an example, Carl Long, they have 2 cars, the 13 of Garrett Smithley, Timmy L's 66. They got a race on speed, but the thing is, they don't have much speed.
It will be a long shot for Carl Long's team, essentially, to make the 500.
Like, for them, the thing is, they had 1 car last year make it. Timmy made it, but last year, Chad Fincham and the other car, the 49, they DNQ'd. But they could make it in the dual races, but it just depends about, because and also it depends if Garrett and Timmy are in the same dual race. If Timmy's in race 1, Garrett's in race 2, that's going to be harder to try to make it, because sometimes you want to work with your teammates. It's like Jeff Gordon in 2011, remember? He was in race 2. He had no teammates. His other 3 teammates were in race 1, so he and Trevor Bayne hooked up in 2011 in the duels.
And that was a game changer, because they actually crashed coming to the end. And Trevor Bayne, who was luckily locked into the 500 off qualifying speed from Sunday's time trials, or from that year's time trials, ended up repairing the car, then ended up winning the race.
Yep, which Gordon was behind Trevor Bayne. Robbie Gordon checked up from Kevin Harvick smoking, and Jeff Gordon ran in the back of him. And
Robbie Gordon made the race that year. It was
in that 7 car.
The rules were different too. I mean, they had actually a point system for teams that were locked into the following seasons, including the 500. This year, the charter system in the new way, you might like it or not, that's how it goes. You buy your way in. You have a charter. So let's say, for example, BJ McLeod. Look at drivers like BJ McLeod, Derek Cope, Jamie McMurray, Quinn Hop. They don't have to worry about racing into the 500.
No, but it's people like Kaz Gralla, Noah Gragson, Austin Cindric. Those people, like Austin Cindric's in a Ford Penske car. No charter for that car, so he has to race his way in the number 33 entry.
I actually have the entry list released for the Daytona 500. We'll look at all the go homers from in order. So the first one, of course, being Garrett Smithley for Motorsports Business Management, the team owned by Carl Long. Kaz Gralla for Colleague Racing. Austin Cindric for Team Penske. David Reagan for Front Row Motorsports. Ryan Preece for JTG Doherty Racing. Noah Gragson for Beard Oil Motorsports. Timmy Hill for Motorsports Business Management, the Carl Long-owned team.
And
Ty Dillon, 96 for
Gaunt Brothers.
Gaunt Brothers Racing.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're not.
There could be more. Sorry to cut you off, Justin, but here are some of the unconfirmed entries, and that would be number 44 NY Racing car, which team possibly Johnny Sauter, rumored to be in that car, not confirmed. James Davison in an extra Rickware Racing car, not confirmed.
Yeah, that would be a 5th car because Case is in the 53. Cope's already in the 15. And
there's a rumor about Floyd Mayweather funding.
Oh my God. Yeah, that I remember people in 20. I remember that was supposed to be in Homestead 2019. That didn't happen at all. I don't. Yeah, it's like stuff that people think it doesn't happen, so it's not true.
And last but not least, no word on Tommy Boehm Racing. They usually show up for these kinds of events, and Ryan Truex possibly. Those three teams I mentioned that are unconfirmed would either way be part of the go or go homer list that would
Yeah,
end up having to compete to get into the 500. 4 spots.
yeah. Because like NY Racing, they used to be known as Team Extreme. That 40, they used to be known as that. The last 500 entry was 2015. They made the race with Reed Sorensen, who Reed Sorensen actually started 16th. I don't know how he
Well,
started.
they had that Hort group qualifying, which I don't know.
Oh my,
I thought that was a good idea on Daytona.
oh my gosh! I remember it was the first group one. They had Group 1A and Group 1B. That didn't go too well in that group. When Boyer turned to Reed Sorensen, like group qualifying for Daytona 500 qualifying wasn't smart. Then they changed it for plate tracks not to have that. Because group qualifying at a plate track, that could happen. Crashes could happen.
And that was actually a blow to some of the smaller teams, believe it or not, because now those smaller teams have to do it based off their own speed by themselves in time trials. And think about the, some of the competitors here. David Reagan, he's pretty fast here. Now, maybe in a pack. Austin Cindric, I'm sure, will have a lot of speed by himself. Ryan Preece, Noah Gragson, Kaz Gralla, I think you look at the contenders to possibly make the 500 on speed and time trials. Those are my bets. I don't know about Noah Gragson. I think he might need some help getting into the 500. He might have to do it on the duels on Thursday.
But he might have some RCR equipment, like Beard Motorsport to get some RCR equipment for plate tracks. Like, I remember Brennan Gaughan running those. He had RCR equipment in that number 62.
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for Gregson because Cup cars are way different than Xfinity cars by like you driving an Xfinity car. Xfinity cars run more single file at plate tracks. Cup cars, you're most of the time you're 2 wide, sometimes 3 wide, because pack racing in the Cup Series with this package gets intense.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. We've learned a lot from the last 2 Daytona 500s, from the last 2 Daytona 500s and the last 2 races at Daytona on the Speedway.
Oh.
Denny Hamlin, last of the field. Can Denny Hamlin make history and become the 3rd driver to win 4 or more Daytona 500s? That's a question on its own. This is perhaps one of the greatest drivers in modern era who is still without a championship trophy.
Yeah.
But he has accomplished something that not even Mark Martin or Carl Edwards could accomplish, and that is a Daytona 500 trophy. And he made this Daytona 500 his own. It looked very easy for him. But in the end, there will be a lot of hungry drivers for sure on race day that have no problem putting Denny Hamlin's records to a stop.
Yeah.
And why is that? Well, let's just be clear. Denny Hamlin is the only multiple winner of the Daytona 500 in the grid this year.
Yep.
Shows you how tough it is to win this race. And looking back at the other Daytona 500s, before Hamlin's dominance, it wasn't really a steady display of drivers who could do this over and over again.
Yeah.
Austin Dillon, Kurt Busch, they only led the final lap to win the Daytona 500.
Yeah, 2015, Logano led laps, but some points he was not there. Dale Jr. was there in the 2014 race.
He put on a clinic that night.
Jimmy Johnson, 2013. Then Matt Kenseth was interesting. The 2012 race was interesting, other than Matt Kenseth's victory, the jet dryer incident. And
the whole moment, that was something crazy.
Yeah.
But active drivers that have won the Daytona 500. Derek Cope, 31 years ago, he's in the race. He pulled off an upset, and this will be Derek Cope's final Daytona 500.
Yep.
as stated by Cope himself and the two teams supporting him, Starcom and Rick Ware Racing.
Yep.
Let's down the list here. Kevin Harvick, 2007. How about Ryan Newman, 2008? Jamie McMurray's back. He won the race 11 years ago. What about Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch? Let's look at Keselowski for a second. He's accomplished many things. Championship. He's won almost all the plate races. He's never won the 500.
Yeah, that's the only one he's trying to cross off his list.
Kyle Busch, one of the greatest drivers of all time, still without a 500.
Yeah, he's won at Talladega, he's won many events at Daytona. The only one he's missing is the Daytona 500.
How about Ryan Blaney? How close can you get? Ryan Blaney in 2017 was second place in line. If that race had an extra lap, he might have won that race based off fuel mileage. 2018, Ryan Blaney had the car to beat, caught up in a collision towards the end. 2019, it just didn't seem to go Blaney's way. 2020, Ryan Blaney was so close to winning the race. He was just inches behind Denny Hamlin and the second closest recorded finish of the Daytona 500. By the way, both of those 500 wins in the closest margin of recorded victory have been won by Hamlin. So
yeah,
I guess Denny delivers, and he will continue to deliver. What other drivers are there that you should look at throughout this week? Here's one. Here's a driver I think a lot of people are not talking about, and they need to start talking about. Eric Jones.
Yeah. Yep. Comes over from Joe Gibbs Racing to now he's at Richard Petty Motorsports in the number 43.
If there's a true underdog in the Daytona 500, it might just be Eric Jones.
Yeah, because Petty's been good at plate tracks, like their team, but people are saying, oh, it's Eric Jones. Now that Petty could start winning races. I'm still saying, plate tracks they can contend. It's the other races where Petty their team struggles. But funding. Oh, geez, they had a lot of funding issues with sponsorship. But I feel like they're gonna do good at Daytona because they're good on plate races, which is really good for the team. But Eric Jones, can he show his speed in that 43 car?
How about rookies? Let's look at some of the rookies that are in the 500 or attempting the 500. Rookie drivers including Chase Briscoe, Kaz Gralla, Austin Cindric, Noah Gragson, Garrett Smithley. Where could they stand? Anthony Alfredo. I mean, I might be missing another name or two, but I hope you understand. Like, there are a lot of changes between drivers and teams in this offseason. A Daytona 500 win would be monumental.
Yeah.
Whoever gets the trophy.
Yeah, the last time a rookie won the 500 was Trevor Bayne as a rookie in 2011 because he's the last rookie to win a 500. Yeah, 2012.
Rookie to do it. He's the last driver to score his first career win in the Daytona 500. Yeah,
because Austin Dillon scored in his second, and he was not a rookie in 2018 at all because his rookie season was 2014. Yeah, Bayne was the last. Yeah. To get his first win. Cope won his first ever win, 1990 at Daytona.
Michael Waltrip.
Yep,
20 years ago.
Yeah, 2001.
Here, I'm trying to see. Here I found on Wikipedia because Wiki's very nice. The driver's first Cup Series win was Daytona 500.
Oh my god.
Tiny Lund, 1963.
Yep.
Wood Brothers, 1967, with Holman Moody, Mario Andretti, perhaps one of the greatest race car drivers of all time. Pete Hamilton, 1970. Derek Cook, 1990. Sterling Marlin, first 2 wins in the Daytona 500 in the NASCAR Cup Series. Back-to-back, mind you. Michael Waltrip, you know his story. 463 starts, first win. Trevor Bayne, quickest driver in NASCAR competition to win the 500. Start in the Cup Series.
Yeah, nobody expected that. His second Cup start winning the Daytona 500. Like,
all right, let's make a few predictions here for the 500 because I know we have to talk about sports car racing.
Yeah.
Podcast, but we're gonna have to walk a little bit backwards here. Which driver will we'll start with the qualifying races. The 2020 Daytona 500 pole sitter is
what?
Front row. Here's front row. Let's start with the front row for the 500.
So my front row for this year's 500.
Yeah.
Pole sitter, driver of the number 48. No, it's not Jimmy Johnson. Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman will win the pole 3 years after he did it last time in 2018. Second place will be the number 24 Exalta Chevy. William Byron will start second.
I see that happening. I think pole for the Daytona 500 is a big accomplishment by itself, and we have seen surprises in that bet, including the pole sitter last year, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah, nobody expected.
His counterpart for JTG Doherty Racing, Ryan Preece, is in a completely opposite position than he's been in the last 2 years racing for that team. Unguaranteed to make the 500. Funding will be a problem.
Yeah.
But winning pole for the 500 is a big deal. We've seen trends through the years of different teams, cars, drivers. Winning the pole for the 2021 Daytona 500.
Oh, jeez.
Will be Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch?
I think so.
Kurt Busch is on the front row.
And he will be on the front row. The second place car on the front row for the Daytona 500 will be Kyle Busch.
Okay.
Two brothers on the front row. I don't think that's ever happened in Daytona 500 history.
No. That's going to be the...
With that out of the way, let's look back at the Go-Arca homers. Which driver will make the 500 based off qualifying speed? If there's any of the open teams that we mentioned earlier in the podcast that have to work a little bit harder to make the 500 for 4 spots, by the way, 4 spots, it's musical chairs.
Yep.
Maybe the fastest car, the one that will do the best and make the 500 with these.
For me, for the 500, to make it on qualifying speed, there's 2 drivers that could do that. For me, my first driver that could do that is Austin Cindric in the 33. He's driving for Team Penske, fully funded. It's just he has Penske equipment, which is really strong at plate tracks. But the other driver that could get the other spot for that, driver the number 16, Kaz Grala, Colleague Racing, with their RCR equipment.
That's a tall order, but going into the 500 based off qualifying speed, if 2 drivers do it, the first will have to be Austin Cindric for Team Penske. Now, don't have your hopes up here.
Oh, geez.
We've seen trends of Team Penske drivers not being also successful in making the 500. Look at Sam Hornish Jr.
Oh my!
He's a great example of why you can't just cash in on a driver like Austin Cindric.
No.
But he's got a fast car.
Yeah.
That is exactly what counts on time trials tomorrow night or Wednesday night.
Yeah, tomorrow night's a clash.
Mm-hmm. The other driver that could get in off qualifying speed, he's going to have to, he's going to work twice as hard. He'll probably be the hardest working driver, the hardest working team, especially in the situation this driver is in, and that is none other than Ryan Preece. That's the least they could do, or the most they could do, is just to get in without having to race the way in through the duels. It'll save a lot of time and stress. And if they need to, and we've seen in the past in the Gatorade duels for teams that don't have all the fundings to run in the qualifying race, even after qualifying on speed and time trials, is start and park. I'll give you an example. It was 2012 driver Tony Raines for Front Row Motorsports. He made the show on speed. He started and parked his duel and start in the back. And, in a wiser suggestion, hey, it's better to start in the back knowing you're in the race with 500 miles ahead of you than it is to just risk the one car you have. And it was sponsorless. And they're in the 500.
Yeah.
Now, getting into the race, which drivers will race into the 500? So let's say two drivers are in. Who will be the other two drivers that make the final grid spots?
Wait, if there's 44, we said 36. Okay, plus 2. Okay, so 2 more. For me, my 2 others, Ryan Preece in the 37, and my other one, my other pick, I feel that would race in the 500 is Ty Dillon in the 96. Yeah.
I think that would be a great story for Gaunt Brothers Racing, especially after the heartbreak last year, not making the show.
Yeah.
So I said, off speed, Ryan Preece and Austin Cindric. How about racing into the 500? David Reagan is a great plate racer. He knows a damn thing or two about this kind of situation. He'll be in there for sure. And Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson is racing with his team is racing with a heavy heart. As you heard this past week, Mark Beard, Sr., the president of Beard Oil Motorsports, passed away, and they are still entering the 500. And it would make a great story to persevere through toughness and make the 500, just like Brendan Gaughan did in the last few years. Brendan Gaughan is, was a veteran. Now we have a younger driver. That's where Noah Gragson needs to do his part.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that before in a Cup car yet by Noah Gragson.
Yeah, driving for Beard Motorsports in the number 62.
I mean, if you're a fan of Carl Long and Timmy Hill, Garrett Smithley, I'm afraid those two drivers will need a Hail Mary. Even Ty Dillon.
Yeah. Like, Ty Dillon needs to find, if he could get, like, some of the Toyota drivers, if he has some of the Toyota drivers, like the Gibbs guys in there, or, like, Bubba Wallace, they could help him. But it's like the Timmy Hill gang, like, Timmy Hill and Garrett Smithley, they need something to happen. Like, Timmy Hill, he's experienced, but he barely made the 500 last year.
Right. He actually got in the 500 after other drivers had problems.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have to be in a situation when other teams, you don't need to, having to bet on another team's problems to get into the 500 should not be, not positioned, but hey, it happens.
Yeah, it's like, in 2017, it was not because of, remember Duel 1 in 2017 when Reed Sorensen got taken out by Corey LaJoie with 13 laps left in Duel 1. Corey LaJoie, that needed to race in the 500, took out Reed Sorensen to get into the 500, which was not the best move ever.
Yeah, that's a really tall order.
Yeah.
Where these teams go in the future, we'll have to wait and see. This is, like I said, whoever makes the 500 will be really happy and excited, but there will be some disappointing people leaving the 500 too. And let's not forget, the situations could very well change if two of the the Gorgo homers end up in the same duel based off qualifying in the inside lane. That might even make things worse or better.
Yeah.
We'll have to find out.
Yep.
And last but not least, the 2021 Daytona 500 champion is
my pick. This driver, he's good at plate tracks, but the last time he went to a plate track was Talladega. He was taken out in a crash with Eric Almirola. He managed to finish 16th with just so much tape on the right front of his number. I don't want to say the number to reveal who
it is.
My pick is the number 48. Alex Bowman's going to bring that number 48 Ally Chevy to victory lane.
Winning the Daytona 500 will be a special one, no matter who takes the Harley J. Earl Trophy. But, I can't even remember who I had winning the 500 last year. It was, I think I had Kyle Busch winning the 500.
And he had a blown motor.
Yeah, Danny's there. Hey, Danny.
Hey, guys.
Hey, we're just in the midst of making our Daytona 500 winning predictions here. Justin gave his out. I'm giving mine out. This is tough. 500 miles and some of the greatest drivers. I'm going to go with this driver is going to win the Daytona 500. You love him, you hate him. A lot of people love and hate this guy. But he was fast last year, and if you didn't see his full potential, he was kind of taken out of.
I know.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is the 2021 Daytona 500 champion, and I'm calling it right now.
Oh my
gosh.
I hope Ian's not watching this.
Ian is not going to be happy about you making this prediction.
He didn't watch the full NASCAR season anymore.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to be happy. But here is my prediction for the 500. This guy's come so close to winning it. He finished second in 2019. He had the dominant car today in 2009. And he just had no luck of winning this race whatsoever. But his brother, Kurt, has won the 500 in 2017. So I'm going with Roddy Busch, Kyle Busch, to win this race for the first time in his career.
Put that exclamation point on a Hall of Fame career. He's done about everything in NASCAR.
Absolutely. 2 championships, 3 Brickyard 400s.
2.
Oh, 2.
Yeah.
I think he could get the job done.
Absolutely. And in another prediction, I know this isn't really part of the episode here, talking about season predictions, but I believe Kyle Busch will reach career win number 60. Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick will reach that number in 2021.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, so we made our predictions on qualifying, who gets in, who might make it on speed, who might have to race in and successfully will. The pole sitting. So I have Kurt and Kyle Busch on the front row, but I have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. winning this race.
Oh my.
I have Byron. You know what? I think Hendrick Motorsports will run the front row again this year. They've done it last year and 2019. So I think it could get the job done again.
Me too. They have a lot of speed. They have 8 wins in the Daytona 500. If a Hendrick Motorsports car wins in 2021, they will finally reach the throne of Petty Enterprises' 9 wins by a team in the 500. That is untouchable.
Absolutely.
Technically, it can be number 10. Eric Jones is a very fast driver on super speedways. So take that in consideration. He's not a bust at all. He might be in a lesser funded team than before, But I said the driver you should really keep a close eye at during speed weeks is actually Eric Jones.
Ooh, Eric Jones.
Yeah, Eric Jones.
Eric Jones.
I think Eric Jones will be fast. I don't know if he'll win the race, but I think he'll be up in the top 10 most of the time.
It just depends. Like, Petty's good, like, at plate tracks. It just depends about if he's in, like the thing about Petty's, their equipment is only good at the plate tracks.
Right.
Other tracks, they just struggle with equipment. But people say it's the driver. It was not the driver. But just Eric Jones will have to, like, there's some races Eric Jones is good at. Like, I don't know why. Eric Jones is randomly up front at Talladega's races and in the night race at Daytona. For some reason, sometimes he's not even up in the top 10 for the 500. It's like, he does good at any other race, but in the Daytona 500, he just struggles sometimes.
Yeah, there are more fast competitive drivers than there are of actual positions. And in the end, there's only one winner. And in the end, there are only 40 spots to make this race.
Yeah.
The entry list is still not even finalized at the time of the podcast. They have a lot to go.
It's kind of funny that how they last year you know what's funny? Last year, remember the big schedule, Joseph?
You're right.
Like last year's speed weeks, it was more like spread out. We had the entry list on February 4th. We're the 8th today. And it's still not out. I'm like, hello, NASCAR. Are you going to post it or just us guess who's in? That would be bad, like, fans guess.
I guess they're inconsistent in a way, man.
It's
probably going to be out tomorrow. With my luck, it's going to be out before the Clash. Tomorrow. Yeah, like the Clash.
Like a few hours before the Clash.
Yeah, a few hours before. Oh, here's the entries for Wednesday's practice, because the first 500 practice is on Wednesday.
Yeah. That's one pre-qualifying practice session only.
And then qualify. Then they got qualifying. Then both dual races. Then they got 2 practices on Saturday for the 500. And then they got the race
that make the event.
Yeah, the people that go home they leave the track. Sorry, people that missed the race. Just goodbye.
So really, I mean, this is even tougher.
Yeah,
even tougher than most years for the go home teams, because they now have one free practice session to deal with. And that alone it's tough. There are no rooms for mistakes. If the car fails to, run off, once it's off the trailer, you're really
in trouble.
You're down to the bottom of the bucket. Well, there's one more event we will cover, and I know this has been a long podcast, and we're only reaching 2 hours. That's why we started in the afternoon, just before Speed Weeks began, and that is sports car racing. The 2021 Asian Le Mans Series schedule will have a really interesting look for this season, as we mentioned before, for the most part of the Rolex 24 podcast last week. The Asian Le Mans Series will feature all 4 events in a 2-week span, back-to-back weekends of doubleheader 4-hour races in the UAE, starting off at the Dubai Autodrome this weekend for the 4 hours of Dubai, beginning this weekend. Race 1 will begin Friday at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Time.
Friday. No, Saturday.
Saturday,
yeah.
13th.
Yep. And then race 2, which is Sunday at 3:45 a.m. Eastern.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So race 1 starts, the 4 hours of Dubai starts in pretty much the evening, like in their time. And
Yeah.
race 2 would start like in the early afternoon their time.
Yep.
The entry list is out. I think Danny had put in the so the PDF is up there. Private chat.
Yeah.
Right.
The PDF is more recent because the other one, they had Aero Motorsports with no drivers listed, but the PDF has driver names in it.
Yeah, so we have 3 classes and like 5 trophies to go with those 3 classes for ACO purposes, as the Automobile Club of the West, the sanctioning body of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, uses this series as a means to open eligibility up, to open up awards for making the 24 Hours of Le Mans. You can have an eligibility ticket to make the Le Mans 24 Hours based off how you do in your class in these series, the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, the what else? The European Le Mans Series and the Asian Le Mans Series all have ACO ties to join the 24 Hours of Le Mans as a reward. So that's why you see 2 AM cars in the LMP2 class.
Yeah.
And 1 AM car as of February 8th in the GT3 class. So really just looking at the names here for the 4 hours of Dubai at the Autodrome, we'll start with the overall winning class, the LMP2 category. Who are your favorites?
For me, LMP2. For me, I'm looking at LMP2. My best bet for this team, a good pick would be the number 20. What? Okay, this entry list is a little bit dated because it says 28 for Jota, but it's actually the 38. The Jota team. I look at the Jota team. They have Sean Galisle, which I know he's not good in F2, but he's actually a good. He's run really well in the Asian Le Mans series.
Yeah.
Stoffel Van Dorn and Tom Blomqvist. That is a good lineup in that entry.
I have to agree with you on that one, Justin. They've been really consistent lately.
Yeah.
And I think that momentum can carry over to the new season.
Yeah.
Jota Sport always seems to have a knack for winning and finishing on podiums here. But I'm going to look at a team that no one has really, we've talked a lot about Aero Motorsport, especially after their class victory at the Rolex 24 last week. By the way, Aero Motorsport will continue on and compete for the full 12-race IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in 2021, believe it or not. That was just announced a few moments ago. Aero Motorsport, they're here with Dwight Merriman, Kyle Tilley, and new driver Andreas Askaratos from Greece. But there's a famous GT team that is making a bold move to prototype racing. That is Phoenix Racing, a team known best for GT3 racing. We have drivers Matthias Kaiser, Simon Trimmer, and World GT Driving Endurance Champion Nikki Tien. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I don't know. I mean, hey, it's, no transition is an easy one, but I think we'll see them do pretty good in the 4-race tour, especially, assuming that they were in the Dubai 24 Hours in the past at the Autodrome. So there might be some experience there. LMP3. So the LMP3 class, of course, is more for the amateur level drivers.
Yeah.
All cars except for one are running the Ligier JSP 320 Nissan chassis, except for ARC Bratislava. Hear me out here. They have a Jetta G61 LT P15
The 315
Evo and the Duquesne M30 D08 Nissan. We've seen a lot of those from DKR Engineering. All of those chassis in the Rolex 24 last week.
Yeah. Huh, that's interesting for the GT class. Only one McLaren. McLaren 720S. There's one Mercedes also. one Mercedes, a couple Ferraris, couple Porsches, couple Aston Martins, but there's only one Mercedes and one McLaren in the field, which is really interesting.
Yes, and there's also a pick, a lineup that I think might be the best one yet. And I'm looking right at number 40, the team that won the Dubai 24 Hours.
Oh, I see them, yeah.
Just less than a month ago, GPX Racing with their same drivers, Julian Endlauer, Axel Jeffries, and Alain Ferte, who's in his 60s.
Wow.
Mind you. And he's still racing. And I think with the two Porsche factory drivers being, in that lineup, they could bring that car to a good result. Walking Horse Motorsport might be another team to look at.
Yep.
All right, so there are two races. We have race 1 and race 2. They start at different times in the day and finish at different times of the day.
Yep.
Let's hear your predictions for race 1.
Okay.
4 hours of Dubai.
For me, race 1, my overall pick, which is, LMP2, my pick is the number 38 Jota Sport, driven by Sean Galisle, Stoffel Van Dorn, and Tom Blomqvist in that entry. My LMP3 pick is the number 23 United Autosports entry of Manuel Maldonado, Rory Pettinen, and Wayne Boyd. And no, he's not going to do like Pastor Maldonado did. Hopefully not. And the last pick is the number 34 Walking Horse Motorsport entry, driven by Chandler Hull, Jonathan Miller, and Nicky Katzberg.
Yeah, Nicky Katzberg, fresh off that class victory for Corvette in the Rolex 24 last week. All right, so my race 1 predictions, I think I'm going to have this for race 1 and race 2 because I know we've been on the air for such a long time. Yes, Danny just said he's going to step out for a moment, but Phoenix Racing will win race 1.
Okay.
Matthias Kaiser, Simon Trumer, and Nicky Tim. I've seen both those drivers in the past years running in all kinds of sports car series, so they might, are your best bet. Phoenix Racing is traditionally a GT program. They're now in a different world in prototypes, and I think an overall win would mean a lot. In fact, don't be surprised if they're invited to the 24 Hours of Le Mans this year.
Yeah.
LMP3 might go to United Autosport. I think number 3, James McGuire, American driver, Duncan Tappy, and Andrew Bentley, 2 British.
What, you don't trust Manuel Maldonado?
And I think the most competitive class, without a question, will be the GT3 class.
Yep.
As I mentioned, GPX Racing will continue where they left off from the 24 Hours of Dubai with a win in class number 40 this time around with Julian Endlauer, Axel Jeffries, 2 factory drivers, and veteran Alain Ferte, a former rally driver, completing the lineup to a class victory. That's what I believe for both race 1 and race 2. Will you see a difference in race 2?
For me, race 2, my picks for race 2 is different. All my picks are different.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Race 2, my pick is the number 25 G-Drive Racing entry, driven by John Falb, Franco Colapinto, and Roy Pinto de Andrade in the number 25. LMP3, my pick is the number 9 Nielsen Racing entry, driven by Tony Wells and Colin Noble. And my GT pick is the number 54 AF Corsa Ferrari, driven by Thomas Floor, Francesco Castellesi, and Giancarlo Fisichella.
Those are some Really good names right there. Big weekend in motorsports, and we're just about to hit the 2-hour mark. I think you race fans are going to have a great time this weekend for sure.
Yep.
ARCA in an hour 30.
ARCA East qualifying starts at 6 Eastern, so right now it starts.
16 cars take the grid for the first event of Speed Weeks.
Yep.
Should be fun.
Clash tomorrow. Yep.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this Below the Yellow Line podcast, episode 97. We'll be back for episode 98 to recap all of the events at Daytona International Speedway and in the Dubai Autodrome. If you watch NASCAR by the numbers, please check them out and give us a subscribe and a follow on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please watch all of our content and keep enjoying our videos so we can produce these great podcasts and shows week in and week out. 2021 is here for you NASCAR fans. This is a journey at the starting line. Really, we have never seen a season like this before.
Yep.
And it begins. So with that said, it is dark. You can tell how long this podcast has been for when I have failed to turn the lights on in the house. But for my partners, Justin Hebert, Daniel Ford, I'm Joe Laney Pallant signing off. Have a good night.